I was arranging fresh cookies on my favorite blue plate when my phone rang. It was Tuesday afternoon, and I'd just baked chocolate chip cookies, Michael's favorite since he was 6 years old. My hands were still warm from the oven when I saw his name flash across the screen. "Hi, sweetheart," I said, already smiling. "Mom, we need to talk." His voice was tight, professional, the same tone he used with his employees. My smile faded. "What's wrong? Is Emma okay? Is the baby?" "Everyone's fine. Look, I'm just going to say this directly. Emma and I have been talking, and we think it's best if you don't babysit Lily anymore." The words hit me like a punch to the chest. I sank into my kitchen chair, the one with the wobbly leg I kept meaning to fix. "What? Michael, I don't understand. Did I do something wrong?" "It's not about doing something wrong, Mom. You're 73. Lily is 2 years old. She's climbing everything, running everywhere. What if she falls and you can't catch her? What if there's an emergency and you can't lift her? We just think, you're too old for this." Too old. Those 2 words echoed in my mind like a cruel song. I stared at the cookies cooling on the counter, 3 dozen chocolate chip cookies that my grandson would never eat. "I've been babysitting her twice a week for 2 years, I whispered. "She's never been hurt. Not once. That's not the point. We've hired a professional nanny. Someone young. Someone trained in CPR and emergency response. It's what's best for Lily." Someone young. As if my 7 decades of raising children, of kissing scraped knees and soothing nightmares, meant nothing compared to a certificate on a wall. "Can I still visit her?" My voice cracked. There was a long pause. "Of course. We're not cutting you off, Mom. We just need proper childcare." After we hung up, I sat in my kitchen for an hour, watching those cookies grow cold. I'd been baking them every Tuesday for 2 years. Lily called them Gamma's special cookies. She'd stand on her little stool beside me, her tiny hands covered in flour, her laugh filling every corner of my heart. Now someone young would stand in my place. I picked up the blue plate and walked to the trash. But I couldn't throw them away. Instead, I wrapped them carefully in foil and put them in the freezer, next to 3 other batches I'd saved over the months. I didn't know why I kept them. Maybe I hoped that one day, Lily would eat them. Maybe I just couldn't accept that I'd become too old to love my own granddaughter. That night, I cried for the first time since my husband died. 3 weeks passed without a word from Michael. I kept my phone charged and close, hoping he'd call to say they'd changed their minds. Instead, I saw updates on social media. Pictures of Lily with a young woman named Madison. She had perfect blonde hair and a bright smile. In every photo, she looked energetic and capable. Everything I apparently wasn't. I stopped baking on Tuesdays. There was no point anymore. Then, on a rainy Thursday morning, my doorbell rang. I wasn't expecting anyone. Through the peephole, I saw Emma, my daughter-in-law, holding Lily's hand. My heart nearly exploded. "Surprise, Grandma," Emma said when I opened the door. Her smile seemed forced. "We thought we'd drop by for a quick visit." Lily ran into my arms, her little body warm and solid and real. She smelled like strawberry shampoo and innocence. Gamma, I missed you. I missed you too, Angel." I held her so tight, afraid that if I let go, another 3 weeks would pass before I'd see her again. Emma stepped inside, shaking rain from her coat. She looked tired, dark circles under her eyes, her usually neat hair pulled into a messy bun. Madison had a dentist appointment, so I took the afternoon off work. I thought Lily would want to see you. We sat in my living room, Lily immediately finding her toy box in the corner, the one I kept stocked with her favorite things. As she played, Emma and I made awkward small talk. She asked about my garden. I asked about her job. Neither of us mentioned the elephant in the room. Finally, Emma spoke quietly. "Michael means well, you know. He's just protective. I raised him, I said, trying to keep the bitterness from my voice. I think I know how to keep a child safe. I know you do. She watched Lily stack blocks into a tower. Madison is very qualified. She has references from 4 families. She's certified in pediatric first aid. She's perfect, really. The way she said, perfect, made me look at her more carefully. There was something in her tone, a hesitation, maybe even doubt. But, I prompted. Emma sighed. But Lily cries every time we leave. Madison says it's normal separation anxiety, and it probably is, but I don't know. Something feels off. Michael thinks I'm being paranoid. Before I could respond, Lily brought me a book, The Very Hungry Caterpillar, worn soft from 100 readings. Read, Gamma. I pulled her into my lap, breathing in her strawberry scent, and began to read. Emma watched us with an expression I couldn't quite name. Sadness, maybe. Or regret. When they left an hour later, Lily cried at the door. I want to stay with Gamma. We'll visit again soon, Emma promised, but her eyes didn't meet mine. I watched them drive away in the rain, Lily's small face pressed against the car window, her hand waving goodbye. I waved back until they disappeared around the corner. That night, I pulled a batch of frozen cookies from the freezer and ate 3 of them, alone in my kitchen. They tasted like loneliness. 2 months after Michael's phone call, I started noticing things on social media that worried me. Emma's posts became less frequent. When she did share photos of Lily, the little girl's smile looked dimmer somehow. In one picture, I noticed a small bruise on her arm. In another, she was sitting alone while Madison smiled at the camera. I called Emma 3 times. She didn't answer. I called Michael once. He said everything was fine and that I was overreacting. Mom, you need to let this go, he said, his voice sharp with frustration. Madison is doing an excellent job. Lily is thriving. Then why does Emma look exhausted in every photo? Why won't she return my calls? She's busy. We're both busy. That's why we needed professional help in the first place. I wanted to scream that I could have helped, that I'd offered 100 times, but he'd already hung up. That Sunday, I did something I'm not proud of. I drove past their house. Just once. Just to see. The curtains were drawn, but I could see shadows moving inside. I sat in my car across the street, feeling like a criminal, when the front door suddenly opened. Madison came out, talking on her phone. She looked angry. I don't care what they expect, she said loudly. This kid is a nightmare. 2 more weeks and I'm done. No, the money isn't worth it. She literally screams for her grandmother every single day. My hands tightened on the steering wheel. Madison got into her car and drove away without noticing me. I sat there for 10 more minutes, my heart pounding. Then I did something even more reckless. I walked to the front door and knocked. Emma answered, Lily on her hip. Both of them had been crying. Margaret. Emma's eyes widened. What are you doing here? I was in the neighborhood, I lied badly. I thought I'd say hello. Emma hesitated, then stepped aside. The house was a mess, toys scattered everywhere, dishes piled in the sink. This wasn't like Emma, who kept everything spotless. Gamma. Lily reached for me, and Emma let her go. The little girl wrapped herself around me like a lifeline. Where's Madison? I asked carefully. Dentist again. Or grocery store. I can't remember. Emma sank onto the couch, covering her face with her hands. Margaret, I'm drowning. Work is insane, Michael is traveling constantly, and Madison. She's professional, but she's cold. Lily hates her. She cries every morning when we leave. She wakes up screaming at night. The pediatrician says it's just a phase, but my baby is miserable. I sat beside her, Lily in my lap, and put my arm around Emma's shoulders. Then why not let me help? Michael won't allow it. He says we made the right decision and we need to stick with it. He says I'm being emotional and that Madison knows best. What do you think? Emma looked at me with desperate eyes. I think I made a terrible mistake. But Michael is so sure, and Madison has all these credentials, and maybe I'm just being emotional. Maybe I'm a bad mother for wanting to quit my job and stay home, or for wishing things could go back to the way they were when you watched her. You're not a bad mother, I said firmly. You're a mother who loves her daughter. That's not emotional, that's right. We talked for another hour. Emma confessed that Madison often showed up late, that she'd found Lily in a wet diaper more than once, that the house was always a mess when she got home. But whenever she tried to talk to Michael about it, he defended Madison. She's young and energetic, he'd say. She knows what she's doing. As if young and energetic mattered more than love. When I left, Lily screamed for me. Her cries followed me to my car and haunted me all the way home. It was 2:47 a.m. when my phone rang. I knew before I answered that something was terribly wrong. Mom. Michael's voice was panic itself. Madison quit. Just now. She texted me that she's done and blocked our numbers. Emma's at a conference in Boston until tomorrow night. I have a presentation at 8 that I can't miss. It's a $10 million client. Mom, I need you. Can you come watch Lily? Please. I was already out of bed, pulling on clothes. I'll be there in 20 minutes. Thank you. God, thank you. I'm so sorry. I know I said. We'll talk later. I'm on my way. I drove through the empty streets faster than I should have, my hands shaking on the wheel. When I arrived, Michael met me at the door. He looked like he'd aged 5 years. His hair was disheveled, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes wild with stress. She texted at 2 a.m., he said, showing me his phone. Madison's message was short and cruel. I quit. This job isn't worth the headache. Don't contact me again. Where's Lily? Asleep. Finally. She had a nightmare an hour ago and wouldn't stop crying for Emma. I tried everything. Go get ready for your presentation, I said gently. I've got this. Relief flooded his face. He hugged me quickly, awkwardly. Thank you, Mom. I'll be back by 3. There are emergency numbers on the fridge, and her schedule is. Michael. I raised you. I know what to do. He nodded, embarrassed, and rushed upstairs. I walked into Lily's room. My granddaughter was sprawled across her toddler bed, her face blotchy from crying, her thumb in her mouth. Beside her bed was a photograph that made my heart crack, a picture of her and me from a year ago, both of us laughing, covered in cookie flour. I sat in a rocking chair beside her bed, the same chair where I'd rocked Michael 35 years ago, and watched her sleep. Her breathing was uneven, catching on the remnants of sobs. At 5:30, she woke up screaming, "Mama! Mama!" I went to her immediately. "Sure, Angel. Grandma's here." She looked at me with tear-filled eyes, confused. Then recognition dawned, and instead of crying harder, she reached for me. "Gamma? You came back. I'm here, sweetheart. I'm here." She clung to me like I was the only solid thing in a spinning world. We rocked together in the chair, and I sang the lullaby I'd sung to Michael, the one my mother had sung to me. Slowly, her breathing calmed. Her thumb found her mouth. Her eyes drooped. "Gamma," she whispered, already half asleep. "Don't leave again." "I won't, baby. I promise." She believed me. Children always believe their grandmothers. I just hoped I could keep my word. Michael left at 7, looking guilty but grateful. "Call me if you need anything." Anything at all. After he left, I surveyed the situation. The house was worse than I'd seen it last time. The refrigerator had expired milk and takeout containers. The sink overflowed with dishes. Lily's clothes were scattered across the bathroom floor, some of them still damp from what looked like yesterday's bath. Madison had been professional, but she hadn't been caring. I started with breakfast. Lily sat at the kitchen table in her pajamas, watching me with huge eyes, as if afraid I might disappear if she blinked. What would you like, Angel? Eggs. Pancakes. Gamma's special cookies. My heart squeezed. Those are for after lunch. How about pancakes? Her face lit up like sunrise. With blueberries. With blueberries. We made pancakes together. She stood on her step stool, the same one she'd used 2 years ago, and helped me pour batter. She got it everywhere. On the counter, on herself, on the floor. It was perfect. While she ate, I started cleaning. I washed dishes, wiped counters, threw away old food. I found Lily's favorite stuffed rabbit behind the couch, covered in dust. I found her purple blanket, the one she couldn't sleep without, wadded up behind the washing machine. How had Madison not noticed these things? After breakfast, we played. We built block towers and knocked them down. We read every book on her shelf twice. We danced to silly songs. And with every minute that passed, Lily became more like herself, the happy, giggling little girl I remembered. At nap time, she didn't fight. She took my hand and led me to her room. Gamma, will you stay while I sleep? Of course. Madison never stayed. She said big girls sleep alone. I felt a flash of anger but pushed it down. Well, Grandma thinks little girls who want company are very smart. I sat in the rocking chair, and she fell asleep watching me, her hand reaching out to make sure I was real. While she napped, I kept cleaning. I did laundry. I organized the toy room. I made a real dinner, pot roast with vegetables, the kind that takes hours but fills the house with warmth. When Lily woke up, we baked cookies together. She was better at it now than she'd been 2 years ago. Her little hands knew exactly how to crack eggs and stir batter. She told me stories about preschool, about her friend Emma Rose, about how she'd learned to count to 20. Did you tell Madison about counting to 20? I asked. Lily's face fell. Madison didn't like talking. She was always on her phone. My jaw tightened, but I smiled for Lily. Well, Grandma wants to hear everything. At 3 o'clock, Michael came home. He stopped in the doorway, staring. The house was spotless. Dinner was cooking. Lily was laughing as we decorated cookies. Mom, he said, his voice thick. Lily ran to him. Daddy, look. Gamma and me made cookies. He picked her up, and I saw tears in his eyes. I see that, sweetie. They look delicious. That night, Michael asked me to stay for dinner. We sat at the table like a family, him, me, and Lily. The little girl chattered happily, showing her daddy every cookie she'd decorated. After Lily went to bed, Michael and I sat on the couch. He stared at his hands. Mom, I'm so sorry. I know. You were right. I was wrong. I thought professional meant better. I thought younger meant more capable. I was an idiot. You were scared, I corrected gently. You wanted the best for Lily. But Michael, credentials don't mean love. Training doesn't mean caring. Madison had all the right qualifications, but she didn't have the one thing Lily needed most. Someone who loves her. He wiped his eyes. Emma tried to tell me. I didn't listen. I thought I was making the smart choice, the responsible choice. Instead, I hurt my daughter and I hurt you. How do I fix this? I took his hand. You already did. You called me. Emma arrived home the next afternoon, exhausted from her conference. Michael had asked me to stay one more day, and I'd agreed, not because he needed me, but because Lily did. When Emma walked through the door, Lily ran to her screaming, Mama, but then immediately grabbed her hand and dragged her to the kitchen. Look, Gamma's here. We made cookies and cleaned and played and she read me stories and she stayed when I napped. Emma's eyes found mine over Lily's head. They were filled with tears. Margaret, she whispered. I walked over and hugged her. She collapsed into my arms and sobbed, great, heaving sobs of relief and exhaustion and regret. I'm so sorry, she cried. I knew Madison wasn't right. I knew you were what Lily needed, but I couldn't stand up to Michael. I was weak and scared and I failed my daughter. You didn't fail anyone, I said firmly. You trusted your husband. That's not weakness, that's marriage. But Emma, now you need to use your voice. That evening, the three of us sat down after Lily went to bed. Me, Michael, and Emma. We had the conversation that should have happened 3 months ago. Emma told Michael everything. How Lily had changed, how withdrawn she'd become, how the light had gone out of her eyes. She told him about the bruises she'd found, the wet diapers, the cold distance Madison had maintained. Why didn't you tell me? Michael asked, looking devastated. I tried. You said I was being emotional. You said Madison was professional. You said. Emma's voice broke. You said I should trust your judgment because you did the research. Michael covered his face with his hands. I'm an idiot. I'm a complete idiot. You're not an idiot, I said. You made a mistake. A big one. But you can fix it. How? He asked. How do I fix hurting my mother and traumatizing my daughter? You already started, Emma said quietly. You called for help. You admitted you were wrong. That's not easy for you, Michael. I know that. We talked for hours. We talked about trust and judgment and the difference between qualified and caring. We talked about how society makes us feel like older people are burdens, like youth is somehow superior to experience. I never thought I was ageist, Michael said. I never thought I was that person. But when I told you that you were too old, Mom, God, what was I thinking? You raised me. You were a nurse for 40 years. You have more experience with children than Madison could ever dream of. And I dismissed all of that because I bought into this idea that professional means better. A lot of people make that mistake, I said. Society teaches us to value credentials over character, training over love. But Lily doesn't need someone with a certificate, Michael. She needs someone who will sit with her during nightmares. Someone who will stay while she naps. Someone who knows that the purple blanket is her favorite and that she likes her sandwiches cut into triangles. Someone like you, Emma said. Someone who loves her, I corrected. Before I left that night, Emma asked me the question I'd been hoping to hear. Margaret, would you consider watching Lily again? Regularly? We'd pay you, of course. I don't want your money, I interrupted. I want my granddaughter. That's payment enough. They both hugged me, and for the first time in 3 months, I felt like part of the family again. The first Tuesday back was magic. Lily could barely contain her excitement when Emma dropped her off at my house. She ran through the door with her little backpack, already asking if we could make cookies. First, let me look at you, I said, kneeling to her level. She'd grown so much in 3 months. Her hair was longer. Her face had lost some of its baby roundness. Gamma, I missed you, she said, throwing her arms around my neck. I missed you too, Angel. So much. We fell back into our old rhythm as if no time had passed. We baked cookies, chocolate chip, of course. We read books. We played in the garden, picking tomatoes and chasing butterflies. We did all the things that Madison had apparently been too busy to do. But there were differences now. Lily was more clingy than before. She checked constantly to make sure I was still there. If I left the room, even for a minute, she followed. At nap time, she held my hand until she fell asleep. The trauma of those 3 months hadn't disappeared just because I was back. On Wednesday, I took her to the park. She played on the swings but kept looking back to make sure I was watching. When another little girl asked her to play, she hesitated. Go ahead, sweetheart, I encouraged. I'll be right here. She ran off but returned every few minutes to check on me. Each time, I waved and smiled, showing her I wasn't going anywhere. A young mother sat on the bench beside me. She had a baby in a stroller and was scrolling through her phone. Your granddaughter? She asked. Yes. Lily. She's 3. She's adorable. The woman glanced at me. You watch her. Twice a week. Sometimes more. The woman smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. That's nice. We have a nanny. I keep thinking I should let my mom help more, but I don't know. She's getting older. I worry. I thought about telling her my story, about Madison, about Michael's mistake, about the 3 months Lily suffered. But I didn't. Some lessons people have to learn themselves. Your mother probably has more experience than any nanny, I said gently. And she definitely has more love. The woman looked thoughtful but didn't respond. That evening, when Emma picked up Lily, my granddaughter didn't want to leave. Can I stay with Gamma tonight? Please. Emma looked at me hopefully. We couldn't impose. You're not imposing, I said. I'd love it. So Lily stayed. We made dinner together. Spaghetti with marinara sauce, her favorite. We gave her bath toys, a swimming party in the tub. We read The Very Hungry Caterpillar 3 times before bed. As I tucked her in the guest room I'd started calling Lily's room, she looked up at me with serious eyes. Gamma, are you too old? My heart stopped. What do you mean, sweetheart? Daddy said you were too old to watch me. That's why Madison came. Is it true? I sat on the edge of the bed, choosing my words carefully. Daddy made a mistake. He thought that because I'm older, I couldn't take care of you properly. But he was wrong. Age doesn't mean you can't love someone or keep them safe. It just means you've had more practice at it. I'm glad you're not too old, Lily said. Madison was mean. Mean how? I asked gently. She yelled when I cried. She said I was annoying. She never played with me. She was always on her phone. Lily's lip trembled. I thought maybe I was bad. That's why you stopped coming. I pulled her into my arms, my own tears falling into her hair. Oh, sweetheart. No. You are not bad. You are wonderful and perfect and so loved. I stopped coming because Daddy asked me to, but I never stopped loving you. Not for 1 single second. Do you promise you won't leave again? I promise. She fell asleep in my arms, and I held her long after her breathing deepened, trying to squeeze 3 months of lost time into one perfect moment. Over the next few weeks, Lily slowly became herself again. The nightmares decreased. The clinginess eased. Her laughter returned, full and bright and unguarded. Michael and Emma noticed. They started stopping by for dinner on Tuesdays, until Tuesday dinners became a tradition. We'd all cook together. Michael would make garlic bread, Emma would toss the salad, Lily and I would handle the main course. One Tuesday, as Michael washed dishes and I dried, he said quietly, "She's different. Happier. She's healing," I said. Children are resilient, but they need time. I stole 3 months from her. From both of you. Michael, you have to let that go. Yes, you made a mistake. But you fixed it. That's what matters. He was quiet for a moment. Why aren't you angry with me? If someone had kept me from my child for 3 months based on nothing but prejudice, I'd be furious. I was angry, I admitted. Very angry. But you're my son. And holding on to anger would only hurt all of us. Lily needs us to be united now, not divided by resentment. He hugged me then, something he hadn't done since he was a teenager. I love you, Mom. And I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I know. I love you too. That Saturday, Emma called me with an unusual request. Margaret, I have a huge favor to ask. Michael and I haven't had a date night in over a year. Would you consider watching Lily overnight? I know it's a lot. I'd love to, I said immediately. Bring her over Friday. Friday evening, Lily arrived with an overnight bag covered in unicorns. She was buzzing with excitement, not about her parents' date night, but about staying with me. We're going to have so much fun, Gamma. We did. We made homemade pizza, letting the dough rise while we painted pictures. We had a living room campout, building a fort out of sheets and watching movies until Lily's eyes drooped. We fell asleep together in the fort, surrounded by pillows and blankets and love. In the morning, Lily helped me make pancakes. As we sat at the table eating, she said something that made my heart sing. "Gamma, I think you're the best babysitter in the whole world." "Even better than Madison?" I teased gently. Madison wasn't a babysitter. She was just there. "But you're here." She put her little hand over her heart. "You're here in here." I couldn't speak through my tears. When Michael and Emma picked her up that afternoon, they looked refreshed. Happy. Like they'd remembered how to be a couple, not just parents. "Thank you," Emma said, hugging me. "We needed that." "Any time," I said, and I meant it. As they drove away, Lily waving from the back window, I realized something. Madison quitting hadn't been a disaster. It had been a blessing. Sometimes the worst things that happen to us lead to the best things. Sometimes we have to lose something to remember why it mattered. Sometimes, 6 months after Madison quit, Michael called me with news. "Mom, Emma's mother is getting older. She's having trouble living alone. We're thinking of asking her to move in with us. There's a mother-in-law suite in the basement we never use. But I wanted to talk to you first because I don't want to make the same mistake twice." "What mistake?" I asked. "Dismissing someone because of their age. Thinking they're a burden instead of a gift." I smiled. "Michael, that's not the same situation at all. And the fact that you're questioning it shows how much you've grown. Will you come to dinner Sunday? We want to tell Emma's mom together, and I think it would help if you were there. To show her what it looks like when family takes care of each other." That Sunday, I met Margaret. Yes, Emma's mother was also named Margaret. And we hit it off immediately. She was 78, sharp as a tack, and worried about being a burden. "I don't want to impose," she said. "I can still manage on my own." "Can you?" Emma asked gently. "Mom, you fell twice last month. You forgot to take your medication for 3 days. We're not trying to take away your independence. We're trying to keep you safe." "And loved," Michael added. "We want you here. Lily wants you here." Margaret looked at me. "You're the grandmother Michael didn't want around, aren't you?" Emma told me the story. I nodded. "That's me. And now I'm here twice a week. Sometimes more. And I've never been happier." Margaret studied me. "You're not angry? He treated you terribly. He made a mistake. He learned from it. That's all any of us can do." She thought about that. Then she looked at Michael. "If I move in, I'm not sitting in the basement all day. I want to help. I want to be useful." "You'd be helping just by being here," Emma said. "But if you want to help with Lily, she'd love it. Maybe you and Margaret could trade off? Give each other breaks." I liked that idea immediately. I'd love a partner in crime. Margaret smiled. A real smile this time. "All right. Let's try it." She moved in 3 weeks later. And she was right. She wasn't content to sit in the basement. She and I created a schedule. I had Lily on Tuesdays and Thursdays. She had her on Mondays and Wednesdays. Fridays were flexible. Whoever wanted her that day got her. We became friends, the two Margarets. We compared notes on grandmothering. We shared recipes. We covered for each other when one of us had doctor appointments or errands. One afternoon, as we watched Lily play in the backyard, Margaret said, "You know what's funny? My son-in-law learned that old doesn't mean useless. But most people never learn that lesson. They stick their parents in nursing homes and forget about them. They hire strangers to raise their children because family isn't professional enough. They've forgotten that for thousands of years, this is how it worked. Grandparents helping raise grandchildren, multiple generations under one roof. We've lost something precious. Maybe we're bringing it back," I said. "One family at a time. Maybe. That evening, as we all sat down to dinner, Michael, Emma, Lily, Margaret, and me, I looked around the table and felt overwhelming gratitude. This wasn't the family I'd imagined 6 months ago, broken and distant. This was something better. Something stronger. We'd been broken, yes. But we'd healed. And the scar tissue was tougher than what had been there before. A year after Madison quit, Michael asked me to speak at his company's diversity and inclusion training. They were adding a session on ageism in the workplace, and he wanted me to share my story. I don't know if I'm the right person, I said. I'm not a professional speaker. You're exactly the right person. You're someone who was hurt by ageism and gracious enough to forgive. That's powerful, Mom. So I went. I stood in front of 200 professionals and told my story. I told them about the phone call that broke my heart. About Madison. About the 3 months Lily suffered. About the healing that followed. My son thought professional credentials mattered more than love, I said. He thought young meant better. He was wrong. But here's the thing, he's not alone. We live in a society that worships youth and dismisses age. We see wrinkles and assume incompetence. We see gray hair and assume obsolescence. We throw away decades of experience because we're so busy chasing the new that we forget the value of the tried and true. I saw people nodding. Saw some wiping their eyes. I'm 74 years old, I continued. I have arthritis in my hands and my knees aren't what they used to be. But I can still bake cookies. I can still read stories. I can still love my granddaughter with everything I have. Age didn't take that from me. And it shouldn't take opportunities from anyone. The question isn't, are you too old? I said. The question is, do you have something valuable to offer? And the answer, for most of us, is yes. We have experience. We have wisdom. We have love. Those things don't expire. They don't have a shelf life. After I spoke, a young woman approached me. She was maybe 30, wearing a business suit, her eyes red from crying. My mother wants to help with my kids, she said. But I've been insisting on daycare because I thought it was better. Professional. But watching you talk, I realize. I'm making the same mistake your son made. It's not too late, I said gently.